So today I want to do something a little bit different. In about a month from now, on the 2nd of November, my an update to Highway Wars will come out. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the game that provided the inspiration, well, the game book that provided the inspiration for me to write Highway Wars some years back. And this is Freedom Fighter, which is a game book that was published quite a long time ago. It was written by Ian Livingstone, and as you can see here, it was a game book, all the way back in 1985. So this is my old copy of the book, and it is a game book, and it's in the Fighting Fantasy series, as you can see here. And the Fighting Fantasy series was typical in that it used all these different abilities: skill, stamina, luck. In this case, it also had a car that you were piloting or driving around, and this car also had firepower, armor. As in all Fighting Fantasy series, you could actually have hand fighting, shooting. Well, shooting was a kind of like more peculiar to this one. There was vehicle combat. And this interceptor that you were piloting, interestingly, had different things, such as missile weapons, rockets that you could fire at other cars, iron spikes that you could use in order not to be pursued, oil that you could drop. You also had to be careful in not to run out of fuel. The idea of this book was actually that, interestingly, it was not like it was a virus that actually wiped out a large percentage of the population. And this is quite interesting, actually, coming out of the COVID pandemic. Of course, that there was quite a lot of people who got killed, and of course society survived. But I mean, you always wonder what would happen if a more deadly virus would have come around. In Highway Wars, you actually start with a car which has a turret, and you have a gunner and navigator. In this case, in this book, you're actually driving around by yourself, and the main idea is that you're going to be trading the city you're working for, which is called New Hope, is going to be trading seeds for oil, and that of course has some reverberations in how I wrote Highway Wars. Of course, in the case of Highway Wars, you're actually trying to rescue an engineer, but there's also, in that game, there's also this talk about how ethanol has replaced oil, because of course in the future it would be more difficult to extract oil. The game is illustrated. It has quite a lot of illustrations throughout, and note that actually I used some of these for inspiration. So many times when I wasn't sure about what to write about, I actually would go through the book, open a paragraph at random, and get some inspiration about some scenes that I could write for Highway Wars. So you can actually see that. It's another few good illustrations somewhere. See if I can find some. If you can see that, this is some of the inspiration that I got for some of the gangs. There are a number of cars that you can encounter and fight. So this idea, and of course in Highway Wars there's quite a few fights, and you actually fight in Highway Wars. You actually often encounter buggies. So this was my idea, and of course also this can be seen in the Mad Max films. So anyway, this is more or less what I wanted to show you. It's a great little game book if you want. Those of you, and another gunner at the back of a car if you want. So it really gave me a lot of inspiration, and of course I read and reread this when I was a kid. So I hope it shows you a bit of where all this came from, and that you'll enjoy the update to Highway Wars when it comes out on the 2nd of November. Okay, thank you for listening.